Is XLM about to have a breakout? Let's get into it. So, Chris, what makes you think that we're going to have a breakout here with XLM?
So, a few things, right? I always say with XLM, it goes a little bit quiet. My gut feeling starts to kick in and sense something's coming. So I've done a bit of digging, and Grayscale have purchased another 6.5 million XLM. There's definitely something brewing, Nick.
Okay, fantastic. I think we're going to get into the technical analysis today, guys. We're going to have a look at the daily chart for the XLM. We'll obviously have a look at the 4-hourly and the hourly as well. We'll have a look and compare each of these views and see if we can come up with an opinion that may support Chris's hunch here. We'll have a look and see if there's going to potentially be a breakout due and, what kind of expectations will be assigned to such a thing. If you do find this video useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you would like to know about hidden gems, learn about new cryptocurrencies, and make money, then why not go ahead and subscribe? By subscribing, you're going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you hit the bell, you'll also get the notifications. It's free, you'll be kept informed, so why not? Right, Chris, with all that said and done, let's jump on over to the charts and see exactly what's going on here with the XLM token.
How exciting. Let's do it.
Fantastic. Right, so here we are with Stellar to the USDT. This is the daily chart, and we're using Binance as our data source. We have also got a Fibonacci retracement on here from our low level of the 27th of January. That also rides all the way up here to the 13th of February at that high point. And from here, we also have two trend lines. We have the trend line starting from the 6th of January, getting a touch or a double touch on the 27th and 28th of January, riding through to a recent low of the 25th of March. And we also have that downward trend as well from that high point that's mentioned before, the 13th of February, riding down to a couple of touch points here on the 20th of March, the 22nd of March, and most recently a bit of a breakout today on the 28th of March. Now, obviously, that was a bit of a fake out and it hasn't actually stuck at all. So we'll have to watch that space very, very closely. But we can also see the volumes are incredibly low, and we also have our moving averages to watch out for. We have an RSI here, which is indicating a relatively low space here for the XLM token. So currently, Chris, at 48, it's about midway through, which means there's just about the same amount of the upside swing as there is to the downside. So not really telling as to which direction the market is currently feeling. With that being said, I'm sure the 4-hourly and the hourly will have different representations of that RSI and sentiment. We can see the 50 moving average is actually up here quite high, which means we're below that 50-day moving average. We are above the 100-day average, moving average, which is just down here, and the 200 is also all the way down here as well. So at the moment, we're kind of sandwiched between this triangular wedge within our upward trend and our downward trend, and between the 50 and the 100 moving averages. So something's definitely going to start colliding together, and we're going to get a bit of a breakout or breakdown depending on what the sentiment looks like at the time. Now, if I go ahead, Chris, and actually put in a bit of a time range here, we have approximately 7 days until something would have happened. Now, not often when I say this, Chris, it actually happens the very next day, so we'll have to watch that space. But ultimately, we have that 7-day period, so all of next week, to really kind of get our heads around what is going to happen here with the XLM token. So I imagine that we are probably going to be declining a little bit, but we'll have a look and see what's going on the 4-hourly chart in a moment. And obviously, as we look at this chart, we'll also be able to kind of come up with an expectation of what we think is going to happen by the end of this 7-day period. So with that said, let's jump down, Chris, into that 4-hour chart where we can start to see a little bit more of what's going on. As I expand this out, we can see, what's actually going on in a little bit more detail. We have got that 200 moving average actually quite high in comparison to the 50 and the 100. And as it stands at the moment, we're actually pretty much using the 50 moving average as a support line currently. Obviously, previously, this actually was a bit of resistance, so we were definitely under average when we were down here. And we can see the volumes actually spiked up very briefly, and since then have actually started to decline. The price pulled down a little bit here. Now, if I zoom on out, we can see, how volatile this thing has been, but it's kind of just been trading sideways between two key levels. That's the 382 area, so we have this low point just down here. So we've been trading down here, and we've been bouncing up to that 50% as well. And we've been kind of consolidating quite nicely in between these two zones. As we can see with this motion here, we've been kind of just bouncing around. Now, we did get quite low at this point over here, and obviously that was an indication to say that we were oversold, and there was no place to go but up. Now, obviously on that rally to the upside on this 4-hourly chart, we can see that we've actually started to decline as we got quite high in the RSI. So the volumes were not exactly impressive enough to push us much higher than that. So we are in need of correcting this 4-hourly chart. But otherwise, those moving averages are really interesting. They are in reverse to what you might normally expect. We do have the 200 above the 100, and the 50 is below the 100 as well. So ultimately, we are below average on quite a few different levels there. So let's go ahead and pull this into our 1-hour view. From this 1-hour view, we're going to see the volume that really spiked up here as we went into the overbought status on the RSI. We can see that actually we were using that 50 moving average around here, here, and over here as an area of support. Previously, before that, it was a bit of resistance, and we broke through that resistance most recently. Now on here, we can see that we broke through the downward trend and immediately came back down, mainly because we were overbought, but the volumes were definitely there to support. The unfortunate thing here, guys, was that the RSI wasn't fully corrected at the time of breakout, which meant that there really wasn't going to be too much room to the upside at this point. So it was about midway through, and you kind of used all of that space on the RSI without doing too much price discovery. And we've immediately corrected right back down to the former area. So that's a bit of a problem. But nonetheless, we have been flipping this 50 moving average here into an area of support, and we are approaching that 50 moving average on this hourly chart as well. Now, the volumes have also decreased nicely, so some people were potentially taking profits at the top there, seeing the fact that they were overbought and there was only one place to go. With that being done, we need to correct this RSI much lower if we're actually going to have a good chance at a breakout within the next 7 days. So we're going to be watching out for that kind of correction to happen. We're going to potentially hope that we do not have to go down any lower than that 382 area. If I just zoom out here, that comes in at 37.3 cents. So ultimately, we're wanting to not go any lower than that green line there. And if we can do that whilst correcting this RSI, we should be pretty okay. Now, the hourly chart obviously is the most volatile, and we will expect this thing to bounce around a few times whilst we correct the daily RSI and the 4-hourly RSI. But once all three of those things are aligned, we are kind of expecting a bit of a breakout. So what I'm going to do is pull this back up into our daily view and just make this a little bit more manageable. So here we go. Now we know that actually the RSI was overbought on the hourly chart. The 4-hourly is again not in the best of locations either. We have a midway point here on the daily chart, and ultimately we need this thing to get a little bit more corrected, a little bit deeper, head towards that 40 or 30 zone, and we should be in a pretty good spot. Now, as we said before, we have 7 days to manage this. If we can manage this within 7 days, we have the best opportunity here to break up to the upside. If, however, within 7 days, we are unable to correct that RSI sufficiently, then we potentially are just going to continue trading sideways. The downward trend would be invalidated, but the upward trend would still probably stand, and we'll gain momentum, but it will be very small and slow. So we do need to spend this week kind of really focusing in on consolidating the RSI down to a good 40 or 30 on the daily chart, and obviously making sure come the the week's end, we have a 4-hour and a 1-hour chart that also represents a pretty solid position to be bouncing from. And with all of that in the right places, we could potentially see that volume really spiking up like we saw today, but instead of a complete fake out, finding that resistance at 50, the 50 RSI level here, we could potentially see this thing move right on out of this zone altogether. And what we're looking for is actually to break into that 618 area that comes in at about 46.2 cents. If we can get into that area, we have a pretty good start at moving into the 702, which is 49 cents, and then into the 52 cent zone as well, before breaking out altogether into new all-time high, well, not all-time high, but out of the former high level here above 60 cents. And as the thumbnail was kind of alluding to, the very first price target that we're actually looking to achieve here with the XLM token is 83.9 cents. So there's a lot on the cards here for the XLM token. Obviously, we are in a phenomenal year where we're expecting easily to achieve that 89 cent, even the $1.21 the $1.59, and the $1.82. Those are areas that we can see happening with the XLM token pretty comfortably. But we do have to obviously make sure that technically that the traders are comfortable with pushing the price up. Otherwise, they're constantly going to be trading between these two Fibonacci levels, the 382 at 37.3 cent and that 50% retracement zone at 41.7 cent. Ultimately, we need to break out of that barrier and push the price back into the 618 area and get into the 702, the 786, and push out of the 60 cent zone as well. But with all of those things done, guys, we should be able to see XLM starting to move on quite nicely. The RSI is the one of the main things that needs to be corrected. The volumes are pretty okay. They're relatively low at the moment. But ultimately, we do need to get that RSI much lower than it currently stands in order to have a good shot at this breakout. So 7 days, guys. Let's see what happens within the week, and hopefully we'll get that all sorted. Chris, is there anything else that you would like to leave with the guys?
No, just I expect great things from 𝗕𝗪. And whenever I get that gut feeling, Nick, you know how it is. Like, there's normally some substance to it. And then obviously seeing Grayscale making another big purchase, makes me think there's something bubbling along in the background. These guys work really hard, tirelessly in the background. And yeah, when we don't hear very much for a while, it normally means we're about to hear something fairly substantial. So that's kind of how I feel about the situation. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the next week or so goes, Nick.
It really does. So let's watch this space. Let's see what happens. I'm expecting us to potentially pull down, or I'd like to personally be consolidating around that 382 area, that 37.3. We may break a little bit lower than that in order to get the RSI fully corrected. I wouldn't be alarmed, guys, if we do come down somewhere in that kind of range of 35 cent. Be comfortable with it because we do know a breakout is on the horizon. So bear with it. I think we're going to see some phenomenal numbers with the XLM token in the coming weeks, months, and years. So, ultimately, Chris, 𝗕𝗪 is a fantastic project. It has some fantastic use cases and does a lot for the world. So definitely want to see it succeed. Hopefully, guys, you did find this video useful and informative. If you did, then please do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate that. And if you want to know about those hidden gems, learn about new cryptocurrencies, and make money, then why not consider subscribing? By subscribing, you're going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. It is free, you will be kept well informed, so why not? And with that said, we hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, take care.